Hello and welcome to The Olive Tree, the programme that brings you news and interviews with believers in Jesus living in Israel and the West Bank today, Jewish and Arab and Palestinian people, to find out what God is doing in the region. I'm Julia Fisher, and my guest today is Nihad Salman, pastor of an evangelical church in Bethlehem. Nihad, welcome to the programme and thank you for joining us. There you are, sat in Bethlehem. Here I am in the UK, and we're able to talk to each other. Now, I have to ask you first of all about the weather. I hear you've had snow.
Yes, we had snow in Bethlehem quite well, and it was very cold. But of course, people love the snow.
Oh, okay. I know it's quite unusual. So we always love talking about the weather, us Brits. So I had to ask you about the snow. Now, Nihad, I want you to tell me your story of Bethlehem because you were born in Bethlehem. So much has changed in your lifetime. Tell me about your very early life and your family, your parents.
I was born in Bethlehem, 1967, in August. It was quite, it was a different world. I grew up in really a different atmosphere than what we are living today after 50 years. Really, the situation was quite different. Why? Because when I grew up in Bethlehem, we did not have much of what is happening today. Yes, there was political problems with the unrest with the Israelis and the Palestinians, but that was another story, not like what is happening today. And besides, just last week I was talking to a neighbor who happened to be a Muslim, who we grew up in the same street, and we spoke about the same thing. He said, "Wow, those days, those good days that we lived, it's quite different today. In those days, we did not really have much tension between Muslim Christian. We did not. We lived in the same street. We never spoke, oh, don't go to that house, they are Christians, or don't go to that house, they are Muslims. Neighbors, we're neighbors. Nobody spoke about he's from refugee, he's from the city, he's from the village, he's from the Muslim, he's a Christian, or he's Sunni, or he's even among the different denomination or so. So we did grew up in Bethlehem in a different atmosphere. It was more peaceful between the same people. Today it's you walk on the street and you're categorized either with one of the either Muslim Christian, and it will turn the whole relation. What kind of relation that I'm going? The fanaticism is becoming more and more, and racism is becoming more and more on the street, in the neighborhood. It's not like we used to when I grew up. I really loved it when we had between our neighbors. We really last week when I was with this neighbor who we grew up in the same street. Today I'm in a different area. He is in a different area. We say, "Wow, what a difference! What a different world." And it's really sad.
Describe your school life.
School was much easier. We didn't have so much complications. We went to school. Yeah. Here in Bethlehem, we have two systems. We have what we call the government schools, and also we have the private schools. Most of the private schools in the area of Bethlehem are Christian schools, either Catholic, Orthodox, Lutheran schools. I grew up in a Lutheran school, first in a Catholic school and then Lutheran school. My background is, I grew up with a Christian home. My father was from the Syrian Orthodox tradition, my mother from the Lutheran tradition. denomination, and grew up. So we're Christians. We grew up in this atmosphere of a Christian environment, also at schools. But it was different. The schools were much simpler, much. It was. I don't know if I can say it was much more fun, but really, it's when I look at the students today, it's a different system these days, and it's becoming more complicated. Schools,
Again.
the curriculums, and so on.
So when you were growing up, Nihad, what did you aspire to do with your life?
Well, when I was that's it's a difficult questions in each generation, and I can see historically that each generation is losing more hope than the generation before. At least we used to, in our time, we used to think of maybe I will become this or that. The family would speak about all these careers that you want to become. There was some hope. Today, hopeless.
So what did you hope when you were young? What were you hoping for?
I was, to be honest, I was not really from with my family. My father was a contractor, and they thought it maybe we can go into the construction and so on, the life and so on, and architect. And so I didn't think of that. Family is one thing, but at 10 years old, I went to a missionary gathering. A lady missionary from Germany came, and she was making small meetings for children. I went to that meeting. It was on a Friday morning. It was we called it Sunday school, even though it's no Friday. But we went there. She was teaching us about singing for us in Arabic, broken Arabic, whatever, with a guitar. And we loved, the atmosphere there. She was telling us stories about Jesus, about the Old Testament, Moses, Abraham, all of the. And since I was 10 years old, went to that mission work, asked us, you want to believe in Jesus? We as children, we lift up our hands, extra candies, we thought, but gave my life to the Lord. And since then, the Lord caught my heart, even as a little boy. So when I was 13, 14, I wanted to help in the church, clean, whatever they want. By the age of 15, I was translating for an English lady called Lynn, who was teaching children in these meetings, and she needed a translator, and I didn't know much English. So just imagine what I was translating, but it was in my heart to serve. So I was translating for. I would know the story. I will give them my own version, but she was. So since young, I really had this on my heart.
And when you were growing up, was the percentage of Christians, whether they're Orthodox or whatever, in Bethlehem higher than it is today?
Of course. When I was growing up, almost we had like 50% Bethlehem, even if it is not more. 100%. 100 years ago, it was even 80%. But the cities around like Beit Jala, Beit Sahur, it used to be like 90% Christians. Today, Bethlehem, almost maybe, if we can say 20% of the city Christian, with all the denominations. I mean, 20.
So
but the atmosphere mainly, it's we live in a district today. It's almost 200,000 people. Only 40,000 are Christians in this district, and most of the Christians live in the area of Bethlehem.
So when
most
you
of
were
the Christians in the West Bank, sorry.
Yeah. when you were a teenager, as you grew into your late teens, you
Yes.
were witnessing people leaving,
Yes.
Christians leaving Bethlehem.
The immigration really started long time ago with the Christians, but really when the political situation became harder and more Islamic, may I say, how can we say, becoming more racist, against the Christians and oppressing through the political interference from outside, pushing that the answer is Islam, is not the answer for all our problems is Islam. And the more people got convinced of this idea, the more they became, the gap became more and more bigger between Christian and Muslim.
You were
So,
separated.
yes. And so the Israeli occupation, number one, with pushing for immigration, making life hard on all Christians, Muslims, everybody. So Christians would leave. Also, the besides the political, also this kind of may I say Christian Muslim idea became more and more people not really feeling how can I say it, not feeling very ease about what is going on and the future, especially when we started seeing what ISIS were doing in places like Iraq, Syria, and so on. And so people got more and more, what will happen for us if ISIS comes here? What will happen for us? And then, so started taking measurement of, I want a better future for my children. And thirdly, also the economical situation. Bethlehem is a tourist city. Whenever tourism stops, it affects the people, and many people get bankrupt because of the situation, especially people with hotel.
Yeah, you were aware of this declining situation, but it didn't make any difference to what you were still holding in your heart, that you had become a Christian and this is where you were going to go. So we're going to explore that, Nihad, in the next program. So we'll say thank you for today, and we look forward to the next program. Nihad Salman.
Good talking to you.
The Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund is a Christian charity based in the UK that supports the needs of both Jewish believers and Arab or Palestinian Christians living in Israel and the wider Middle East. If you'd like to know more about our work and receive our free bi-monthly newsletter, please visit our website, olivetreefund.org. Meanwhile, join me at the same time next week for another story from the Olive Tree. Until then, goodbye.